Hi, my name is Yarrow, and we are running an educational improvement study exploring the educational benefit of anatomically three-dimensional orbital models, also known as atoms. Thank you all for participating and being patient with us. I cannot express my gratitude for the time that you will be giving up. We are asking you to commit at least 4 hours of learning for two-week periods of learning during our study. One will be in April and the other will be in May. In return, we hope you will gain some insight into new ways of learning, become even more confident with your clinical anatomy knowledge, be able to trial a 3D printed orbital model, and contribute to medical education research that might impact the future. As an added bonus, you can claim 1 CPD point for 1 hour of learning in our study, which the Royal College of Ophthalmologists has kindly approved. You'll be provided a certificate as evidence, but to claim fully you will need to produce a reflective piece. Finally, each participant will be entered into a prize draw at the end of the study for a chance to keep an orbital model as a souvenir. So, what are our learning goals? First, to describe the basic and complex details of orbital anatomy. Secondly, to apply anatomical principles to clinical and surgical practice. Thirdly, to justify the importance of orbital anatomy in improving patient safety. And fourthly, to explain the relevance of orbital anatomy to our patients. All our learning goals, objectives, and educational resources can be found on our study website at www.atomstudy.org, and we encourage you to visit this website throughout your learning experience during the study. So, how will the study run? This is an educational improvement study that runs for 2 weeks at a time, and there will be 2 parallel groups for this study. Participants will be initially divided randomly into a group with atoms, we call this atoms positive or group 1, and a group with no atoms, we call this atoms negative or group 2. There will be 2 learning periods during this study. The first phase of learning commences between the 4th of April to the 18th of April for both groups. The second phase of learning will commence between the 16th of May and 30th of May for both groups. The only thing that differs between these 2-week learning periods is that each group will have different times to experience atoms. Otherwise, we encourage both groups to learn from our orbital anatomy curriculum using online blended learning tools that we have available on our website www.atomstudy.org. If you are allocated to the atoms group in the first instance, i.e. you are group 1 or atoms positive, you will essentially just have 1 extra blended learning resource in the form of a 3D printed orbital model to execute your learning objectives. You are still welcome and encouraged to engage with all our online learning resources whilst using the orbital models to supplement your learning. If you are allocated to the group with no atoms, i.e. group 2 or atoms negative, you are still encouraged to engage with all our blended learning resources online under the Learn tab on our website www.atomstudy.org, but you will not have the 3D printed orbit to assist your learning in the first instance. Therefore, you will be reliant on digital textbooks, virtual anatomy software, podcasts, and videos that are live on our website. Both groups 1 and 2, irrespective of their atom status, are kindly asked to learn for a minimum of 4 hours over each 2-week learning period and conduct quizzes alongside the learning. This is vital to assess the educational benefit of these 3D printed orbital models. After the first learning period in April, there will be a 1-month washout period whereby participants are encouraged to take a break and do no study-specific learning. However, there will be 1 quiz to complete during this period to assess retention. After the washout period, we will transfer the atoms amongst groups, so the original group with the atoms, i.e. group 1, will now become atoms negative and just have the online blended learning resources, whilst the original group with no atoms, i.e. group 2, will become atoms positive and get to experience the orbital models in May. The second learning period will commence between the 16th of May and the 30th of May. Remember that although there are 2 study groups running in parallel, no matter what group you've been allocated or whatever study period you're experiencing the atoms, we kindly still ask you to engage with all the resources available to you online during these 2 weeks of study. The atoms is just there as an extra addition to supplement your learning. Therefore, in total, you will have conducted 8 hours of learning during April and May during these 2-week learning periods. In order to assess the educational benefit of atoms, we will be running quizzes, questionnaires, and focus groups alongside all the learning periods. In terms of quizzes, we will provide quizzes at the start, the 2-week finish mark, and the 1-month mark to assess clinical anatomy knowledge gain across 3 time points. These quizzes are designed to help cement your learning and are split into 2 parts, one for basic anatomy and one for clinical anatomy. There is a total of 20 questions per quiz, and the second part of the quiz will require you to watch a surgical video like an anatomy spotter test. We would appreciate if you could complete these quizzes promptly when asked, please, and make sure that you log the minutes spent since they can contribute to the total of 4 hours of learning for this study. At the end of each learning period, there will also be a questionnaire to get your opinion on the atoms and other study resources. Voluntary focus groups will run at the end of May and June period for a further 30 minutes over Zoom to just ask individuals about their experiences with our learning resources, including the 3D printed orbital models. This will prove an invaluable time to feed back to us your experiences and whether atoms are useful in the ophthalmology curriculum. Closer to the time, I will circulate doodle polls and possible dates for focus groups. Squeezing in learning. We appreciate that learning whilst juggling a full-time job is difficult, and hence we're very grateful that you've been involved in this study. We only encourage you to learn for 4 hours over 2 weeks, but there are 2 learning periods during this study. This can be spread over the 2 weeks or done in one sitting. We do encourage spreading it out just to help your learning. Examples include 30 minutes during a lunch break to watch a few surgical videos, or 45 minutes listening to a podcast whilst commuting to work. These all count towards your educational time in this study, and this can be supplemented in the evening with some light reading, for example. In addition, completing the quizzes contributes to learning too, so if you have spent 30 minutes on a quiz, make sure you clock those hours as part of your 4 hours over the 2 weeks. If you have the atoms, we encourage you to explore the actual 3D printed orbital model specifically with our tailored videos on our website, which will be live by the end of this weekend. Final thoughts. We appreciate that learning at the postgraduate level is based on adult learning theory, so please feel free to use the resources we have provided that best suit your unique learning style, whether this be podcasts on your commute, reading in the evenings, or flashcards for revision or watching surgical videos. We would also appreciate that if you have been allocated to the atoms group, i.e. that you have the models in the first or second round, to engage as much as you can with the models when you receive them, as well as our online blended learning resources, all available on our study website www.atomstudy.org. The atom models have been sent off on Friday the 1st of April with special delivery and will be arriving between Saturday to Monday. The parcels will require a signature, so please keep this in mind if a household member is not present for those dates. Please check with your local post office if you have not received the delivery. Please also do not dispose of the packaging and keep it safe, since this can be used to return the models in one piece back to Sussex Eye Hospital. Returning atoms is simple and just requires the packaging that has been included in your delivery set and has allocated prepaid stamps on the actual packaging. If at any point you decide that you don't wish to take part in the study or do not have the time to engage with any of the learning material, then please do let us know. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for participating, and if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to email me or call me, and visit our study website for more information, or keep up to date with all our social media for the Atom study. Thank you.